In July, I was visiting the hospital, and I was there to comfort a member of our community who was very ill. And as I was leaving, I walked to the atrium parking deck where I saw a young man who was alone, sort of standing by his car with tears streaming down his face. And I didn't know him, but something compelled me to stop and just to ask if he was okay. He told me that he was waiting for news about his mother who was in surgery and that he was terrified. And we talked for a while, and I could see that just being there with him, just offering a moment of kindness, made a difference. And to be clear, I wasn't there to solve his problems. I was not able to do that. I wasn't there to take away his fear. I was just a random stranger wearing a kippah. And I was there to listen to him, to share his burden, if only for a brief moment. And this experience reminded me that there's something vital about compassion. And that compassion isn't just reserved for those who are closest to us. It's about recognizing the humanity in everyone and being willing to extend our care beyond the familiar. It reminded me that we know how to care deeply for those that we love. We know how to care deeply for those who are in our community. And we're also always learning how to care for others. I think of this as a parent all the time. To hear a kid on the playground cry sends my compassion antenna sort of into action. It may not be my own child who's in pain, but I know what it's like as a parent to be with my children in their own pain and to be that compassionate presence. And so I can both empathize with the parent and, when necessary, offer compassion to a kiddo who isn't even my own. Right now, many of us are deeply focused on the pain of our brothers and our sisters in Israel. We see their fears, their losses are staggering. The 314 days of our brethren who've been held hostage is just gut-wrenching. And it touches us to our core, because our instinct is appropriately to protect them, to offer them comfort, to say, I am here with you. And that instinct is really good. It's necessary. There have been some who are quick to point fingers of responsibility and culpability at Israel without seeing the very human suffering of our own people. And I find that to be so unfortunate. As best we can, we should always try to imagine the pain of a parent whose child was murdered, a son whose father is being held hostage. We can and we should have compassion for them, for a country that is in fear of living under the constant threat of missile and drone attacks. To send your kid to school not knowing if Iran is going to launch an attack, it's really scary stuff. And here's the thing, that the compassion that we extend to our own people can also teach us something vital. When we know how to care deeply for those who are close to us, we're also able to learn how to care for others. If we can show up for our own people in their time of need, we can and we should consider the effects on others beyond maybe perhaps what we've deemed our immediate concerns. It's hard to watch what's going on right now and not see the pain in Gaza and how it's real. The loss and destruction is profound. And I believe that all of us could say that we wish for Gaza to be free from Hamas. That being stuck between a terrorist group that has no care for their own and the Israel Defense Forces using maximal force against Hamas positions that are in civilian areas, on purpose, I might add, is really difficult. Palestinians who want peace and who want safety for their families are suffering, and they're suffering terribly. There can be no denying this. And holding the complexity of Israel's current reality is both a challenge and, I think, a Jewish responsibility. The story shared of resilience in the face of trauma, of the lived struggles of Israelis and Palestinians under the worst conditions, the incidents of violence reveal real tensions between the ideals of compassion and the actions of those who believe themselves to be right, without regard to human costs. Holding the complexity of Israel's current reality is both a challenge and a responsibility, because the stories of trauma and resilience and the moral dilemmas faced by both Israelis and Palestinians paint a picture of a land deeply scarred by this conflict. They paint a picture of a humanitarian crisis that is severe, with people facing daily hardships under blockade. In the West Bank, Palestinians endure the relentless expansion of settlements, home demolitions, and life under an occupation that is really difficult, struggling to maintain their dignity and way of life. We are called not to just see the beauty, but we are also called to see the brokenness as well, to take up the sacred task of repairing what is shattered, because every human being created in the image of God deserves dignity and justice. Loving Israel means holding it to its highest values, defending its right to exist always, while also demanding accountability as well. Acknowledging the suffering on both sides is not about equating the actions of all parties, not at all. But it's about recognizing our shared humanity and the profound loss that conflict brings to everyone involved. It's about holding our leaders accountable and demanding and striving for a future where peace is not just a distant hope, but a tangible reality. It's about committing ourselves to the hard work of reconciliation and rebuilding and ensuring the dignity of every human being, Israeli and Palestinian, that dignity is upheld. Our capacity to let our compassion expand outward is what makes us truly human. It's not about diminishing our love for our own people. It's about letting that love guide us to a broader empathy, a sense of shared humanity. In these difficult moments, it's crucial to remember what we stand for. And I want to be clear and explicit. We should stand with Israel. We should believe and fight for Israel's right to defend her people. We have learned over the last year and been reminded again and again that no one will care or advocate for our own people like we will. And yet, that doesn't mean that we turn a blind eye when something is wrong. This week, extremist Israeli settlers, many of them masked, rampaged through the Palestinian village of Jit in the West Bank, setting fire to homes and vehicles, leaving destruction in their wake. A Palestinian man was killed, another critically wounded during the attack, with over 100 Jewish assailants involved. And hundreds of right-wing protesters stormed the Sde Te'eman military detention facility in the southern Negev, attempting to prevent the arrest of 9 army reservists who were accused of torturing a Palestinian detainee. And the military police, under the orders of Itamar Ben-Gvir, did not block the protesters from entering. In other words, a high Israeli official allowed that to happen. And both incidences have sparked widespread condemnation. They've highlighted the growing tensions and challenges to the rule of law within Israel because of Israel's own leadership. And such actions are a grave violation of Israel's values, of Jewish values, and I think of Israel's security. When we hear about extremist settlers attacking Palestinian villages, burning homes, and taking lives, or military officers torturing Palestinians, it's a punch to the gut. This cannot become who we are. And pretending that it didn't happen, not acknowledging it or condemning it outright, doesn't make it go away. Because living our values, values of kindness and integrity, means having the courage to confront the hard stuff, especially when it's coming from our own people. It's about being brave enough to say, this isn't okay, and doing the work to make it right. It's about holding ourselves accountable because that's what real leadership looks like. The same compassion that drives us to care for our own must drive us to care for others. When we feel the pain of our people, we're practicing the art of empathy. And that empathy doesn't have to stop with those closest to us. It can grow, it can expand, it can include those who are different from us too. And this is how we become a light unto the nations. The true test of our compassion is how we extend that love to others, especially to those who might seem distant or even opposed to us. Isaiah's call, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami, comfort, comfort my people, isn't just a directive, it's a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we are capable of profound empathy and connection. Even in our darkest moments, we are capable of showing up for our own and ensuring the safety and security of others. It's about living our values out loud, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it challenges us to grow and to confront some terrible truths. So as we move towards the High Holy Days, I hope that we can commit to being the kind of people who offer real comfort, the kind that's rooted in truth and love, that we're there for Israel always, and that we're also there for peace-loving people who may need us too, like the villagers of Jit, whose family members are dead, whose homes were burned, who are going to sleep tonight scared. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami, comfort, comfort my people, says your God. And we find that comfort in each other, in our actions, in our commitment to living our values with courage and compassion. God, help us to be the vessels of your compassion. Guide us as we seek to care for those that we love and those who are strangers. Give us the courage to live our values with integrity, to speak out against injustice, to extend our hands in kindness to all who suffer. May we find comfort in your presence and the presence of one another. And may our actions bring healing to our world, now and always. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.